topic of genetically testing for diseases by Lucy Collins,
William Lang.
G. Why should the federal government fund genetically testing for diseases? Genetically testing for diseases has prevented fatal cases of genetic disorders. What is genetic testing? So genetic testing is laboratory methods, and they examine the inherited genes that you get from your mother and your father and all of their DNA, and then they test that DNA for genetic disorders and conditions, and it helps identify health problems, and it helps get the right treatment.
How do doctors perform genetic testing? So, different types of genetic testing. You can use skin, DNA, skin, blood, hair, or amnio. Sorry, I can't pronounce this. It's the thing you see on the screen, fluid. And there are two different types of testing. There's the amniocentesis, I think is how you say it, and chorionic villus sampling. The amnios are performed when a doctor inserts a needle into the stomach when he inserts it into the fetus and takes a sample of the fluid. And for chorionic, it's basically when the doctor takes a part of the placenta, which surrounds the fetus in the womb, and tests on that.
Okay. It's like super slow.
Okay. Why do doctors recommend genetic testing? They recommend it if the woman is over the age of 34 because there's a higher risk of miscarriage, disease, and conditions. And if the mom has already had a miscarriage and if the mom has already had a child with a genetic disorder or disease, and if a family member of the mom or dad has a genetically inherited disease.
What are genetic disorders? A genetic disorder is when the genetic material that is in our human cells contain an abnormality or a mutation.
How old do you have to be to get tested? There is no particular age you need to reach to undergo genetic testing. The earliest age, though, is 10 weeks gestation period. Pictures.
Yeah, pictures.
Pictures.
Doesn't prenatal genetic testing? Sorry about that. Doesn't parental genetic prenatal? You said parental. Prenatal genetic testing have a risk of inducing miscarriage? Prenatal genetic testing has a very small chance of happening. The percentage for abortion in an amnio is miscarriage. Miscarriage in an amnio is only 1.4%, and for chorionic villus sampling has a 1.9% chance of miscarriage. These are very low percentages if you couldn't tell already.
So now we have a biblical reference. So we chose to do Matthew 4:23. It doesn't want to go. Okay. So we chose this verse. Actually, I'll read it first. Matthew 4:23. And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people. Synagogue, again, I didn't know what it meant when I first read it, but it's a building where a Jewish assembly or congregation meets for worship and instruction. So we chose this verse because when you take genetic tests and it turns out that you do have a disease, it's that if you trust in God, that He'll cure you, because this shows that He went through this kingdom and He healed all manner of sickness. No. Yeah, just this one. Yeah, 5 to 10.
Okay. Number of genetic tests available per year. It's a chart showing, and it makes a little swirly.
Steady growth.
This just shows that it grew greatly since 1993. And so now, this only goes to 2013, but it still shows that nowadays genetic testing has a really high result of accuracy.
You might also notice that when it gets later in the time, it gets like a higher slope.
So this is one of our last slides, and this is just saying that genetic testing is a great way to provide families with the peace. Some people may not even know that they have a genetic test, so without genetic testing, some people could not be treated for their genetic disease, or they could be treated, but it would be caught later. So genetic testing gives, again, families a reassurance. And parents will be able to, with prenatal genetic testing, it's really hard to take care of a baby and a kid when it grows up who has a genetic disorder, or like Down syndrome is one of them. And so with the prenatal testing, parents know that to prepare for when the baby is born, so they know that what they're expecting. And getting diagnosed with a disease through genetic testing saves many lives every day, because without genetic testing, some of these disorders either wouldn't have a test, or they would have a test that would just take longer and not be as accurate. So
This is our bibliography. These are our sources.
and this
There are only 6 of them.
Maddie, what's this?
This is why the federal government should put the majority of funding